Hello, everyone. This is Decolonizing Wellness. My name is Ryan Oliverius, and I'm here with my guest, Michael Ochoa. And we're going to talk about sobriety and our journeys and the work that you're doing within our community as well.
Well, I'm Michael Ochoa, and I'm actually the youth justice worker here for the band, but I'm on my own path in my life, and I have my own types of training that help me out, and not only in my life, but it helps my clients and my community out as well.
Mm-hmm. So how long have you been sober for?
I've actually got about 22 years clean time, but I really didn't get into my sobriety. So about 15 years of true sobriety.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. Yeah, for me, it's been 8 years, and then it'll be 9 years on Boxing Day.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's always nice to run into other people that are on the same path, because there's not enough of us right now.
Mm-hmm.
We need way more to continue our path and help the rest of us heal, right? You heal one and they take one or two with them would be awesome. Mm-hmm. And we need people like us out there to promote our sobriety in a good way, right? There's different types of sobriety, of course.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's one of the hardest things was finding people that are on the same path as me, especially growing up, because I became sober at a pretty young age.
Yeah.
And there wasn't a very many people that were taking that journey. Yes. Now that I hit 30, there's a little more that are on that journey, or people who have been, I come across people in Indian country who grew up sober their entire life without even having a drop of alcohol.
That's awesome. And for me, I wanted to do it in a good way. I could have just quit and just been satisfied with that, but I really wanted to get to the core of my issues. I didn't want to fall again like the first time I did, because there was a difference in when I first started my sobriety, or actually quitting drinking, not my sobriety, right? I did it in a different way. I went to AA, I went to all these other counselors, but there was something missing, right? I finally was able to get in contact with a treatment center in Creston, BC. And they use a different method. They're based on the medicine wheel, which I found really interesting, and hey, that might help me out. And they had regressive therapy there, right? Using our own Indigenous counselors, and I went through that because my issues came from when I was young, right? A lot of times we look for what's happening right now to help us heal, but in reality, we need the eagle's point of view and look at the whole life. So I found out that, my issues started when I lost my dad at the age of 13, right? Mm-hmm. By the age of 14, I was pretty much a functional alcoholic, because I could still go to school, I still got good grades, I was still involved in athletics, but it wasn't healthy. But when I finally went to this treatment center in Creston and dealt with all those problems, it was just the most amazing thing that I had ever felt in my life. I'd always felt that confusion, I always felt lost, that sadness, that anger. Mm-hmm. But dealing with the issue right at the core and having them bring me right back to where I thought I had suppressed everything, it was amazing. I mean, I didn't realize that I had not shed a tear since I was 13 years old, and I was in my 30s when I went to treatment. And that's one thing that really surprised me and shocked me, was the amount of tears that I actually cried in that treatment center. Mm-hmm. I can understand maybe why I didn't want to cry, because I didn't feel like I was going to stop when I started to, but it just all came out. I was so healing and powerful. I mean, cried so hard I got sick. I got physically sick and started throwing up, and they had to give me a waste paper basket. And what really amazed me was everything that came out was black. And that really struck me. My counselor said that was my sickness coming out of me. And our culture, that's a belief that our sickness comes out of us. So I went through that, and when I went back up their stairs from that particular moment in my life, I could have almost floated up the stairs, and it was like, and like people say, it was like a big weight lifted off your shoulders, but it wasn't a weight lifted off my shoulders. It was a weight lifted off my soul that kept me down, right? Healing the soul wound is what it was, right? So it was an amazing, intense journey that I just wanted to give people a little piece of that, what I felt. I really hated the confusion and the sadness and the anger that I felt in my addiction. We all sit there, I can't speak for everybody, but I sat there and I would surround myself in people that would be drinking, partying, whatever. I just felt alone. I felt different. And it's because I was. One, being Indigenous, right, being Seal. But I was different because I was an alcoholic. I had a disease. I was sick. And once I understood that, right, I'm a medicine wheel follower. What really helped me heal was the sobriety program that they introduced me in that treatment center. It was something different, and they used our culture, our smudge, our sweat lodge, and it was something that was so healing, and it felt like it fit together pieces of me that were missing. I really don't think, had I not went to that type of treatment, that I would be here with the type of balance that I carry now, right?
Yeah, culture is so important.
It is. I mean, for us especially, for all Indigenous people, because what I found out that a lot of what I was missing was my identity, who I was, right? That was a big battle inside of me, because you know what? You don't want to listen to stereotypes, because I was living the stereotypes, right? Like, and once we get that mindset back from our chapped teeth, let's say, that shows us how to live on the land, how to treat people, how to treat the animals, how to live that interconnectedness. I felt so much better in my life, and my journey's continued ever since. I haven't stopped growing, really. I've tried to keep learning about my disease, about my addictions, right? Because I was an alcoholic, but I was also a drug addict too. Cocaine was my drug of choice. Got me homeless. I was homeless for 5 or 6 years. Maybe 2 years of absolute homelessness, where we were on the streets and doing the shelters and just, living our addiction, right? But I met a lot of really, really great people on the street that were like me. Good people, but they didn't have that direction, didn't know what was holding them back. And I met a guy named Andre when we first became homeless. I was lost. I mean, that whole day I was wandering around and I didn't know what to do. And I found this, the town theater had a all-day marathon. So I went and sat in that marathon all day, just in shock, because I had no place to go. I had no money. I had nothing. And by the time that theater closed, when the movies, all the all-day long movies played, I had to go out and face my reality if I had no place to go. And this great man named Andre was sitting out in front of the theater, and I don't know what made him. Maybe it was the look on my face. Maybe I was sad. Maybe I was in shock or whatever. But he was homeless himself, but he was sitting out in front of the theater rolling a smoke. I remember that, because I remember this guy great. And he looked at me and said, "Boy, you look like you're in trouble," or something like that, right? And so I explained everything. Join the club, buddy, pal. So he took me in, right? And he took me to his camp. I mean, it was way in hell out of town, but it was really amazing that somebody that had nothing would show me that kind of kindness and help me out. And there's a lot of people on there like that. And it was Andre that really made me want to help people, because of the individual that he was, the great person that he was. I could see through, well, I was homeless too as well, but I could see through that facade that everybody puts up, and seeing a really absolutely great individual that I knew there was a lot more, right, that are like that, and like me as well. So I wanted to give people like Andre a chance to live at least a halfway balanced life without all that stuff in front of them, right? So one of the main reasons I do this is for
Was that one of the moments that kind of changed for you? Was having that moment right there? Was that kind of like a moment that kind of like pushed you in a different direction? Or was it
Well,
shortly
it
after
started me thinking because of just the person he was, right? And like I said, I'm a follower of the medicine wheel, and one of the tenets is that, you know, there's the 4 laws of change, right? That at first, a great learning must occur, right? And then it must be preceded by a vision. And I was sitting in the park one day with Andre, of course, but I was just, all of a sudden, the thought struck me. It was like, man, I just want to be on my own couch in my own home with my own remote, watching my own TV. And that was my vision that I had for my great sobriety, right? I just wanted that. So that's the thing that I went after was, well, this is what I want, right? So getting out of we all walk around, and there's 2 states of mind that a human can have, and one of them is I don't know what I don't know, right? And I didn't know anything about me. And once I found out that, you know, I'm living homeless, I'm an addict and everything because I'm an alcoholic. That was a hard pill to swallow. And that was getting me out of that I don't know what I don't know, right? So once I found out I was an alcoholic, okay, I can do something about it. So instead of this time going to AA, I found a sobriety group. And it's based on it's a 12-step program based on the medicine wheel, but it uses our smudge, our sweat lodge, and we have pipe carriers in there. It may not be seal, but it is Indigenous, right?
Was it hard asking for help, like to move forward and ask for help at that point in your life?
Once I got it in my mind that was the vision that I wanted, it was easy for me to ask for help. And in reality, I was tired of living the way I was living. I just didn't know it yet, right? Yeah. So it was easy for me to ask, but this time I was really careful at who I asked. I sought out the Friendship Center because they're an Indigenous organization, and I started from there, right? And just kept getting myself trained in different areas, like the sobriety program. I believe that I'm the most highly trained sobriety facilitator in BC right now. I have 11 trainings, right, range from youth to adults, for fathers programs, youth programs, relapse programs, and my favorite is a unresolved grief program that I think we went around 60 to 70 people through this area here. So it's my way of giving back to anybody in my community and to honor the kindness that Andre showed me as a human being, one human being to another, because Andre was a non-native. And it's funny that a non-native showed me kindness and compassion and empathy that started me on my path, and I'll never forget that, and I'll always pray for Andre because he's not with us anymore. When I came to decided to heal, I found a place out on a reserve, and I moved out here, and I stayed there for about 6 months. I was going to meetings, going to my counseling and everything, and I got involved with the human service worker program at the college here to try to get me to start anything. So when it came time for me to start going back into town, I stopped by the mission to find out where Andre was, right? And in the mission, they have this wall. They call it the Wall of Flowers. And I was kind of talking to people, trying to figure out where Andre was. And a lot of people didn't know where he was or didn't know anything about it. When I turned around, I looked at the Wall of Flowers, and I was reading the names. And there was Andre. And a lot of people I knew, I looked on that wall, and there was at least 13 people that I knew that were on the streets with me. And that crushed me because they were good people. And I guess it was exactly at that moment that I decided this is when I'm going to really, really embrace my sobriety, because people like that need us. Our community needs us to be healthy and sober. just to lead them in a good direction.
And then with you showing up, and when people need you, like to be consistently there and showing up when people need you. Like maybe they won't show up 1 week, but maybe they'll show up a couple weeks down the road. And if you're always there, then they're gonna have that place too. And you're saying about all the training that you have, everybody is unique and everyone's journey is unique. By having all these different trainings on your tool belt, you can maybe address certain things. You're going to have more to be able to offer and help.
And then really that's one of the reasons why, right? I didn't set out to help a certain group. Of course, I really want our community to heal, and I want to bring as many people as I can. But if I can help anybody else seek that balance, I will. And you're right about consistency. I mean, I'll sit in this. I have a sobriety meeting here on Reserve Wednesday nights, and sometimes there's only 3 people. There's nights that nobody shows up, right? But I'm here having my pop and waiting around, and even if it's one person, I'll have a meeting because that's a meeting, hey, one person. So I'd like to be consistent, and unfortunately, I don't speak enough about what I've done and where I've been and what I've been trained in, and I really realize that I need to get that out a little bit more. But it's so hard for me right now at this point in my life. If I was back in my addiction, heck yeah, look what I did, yeah, right. But I find it. How would I put this? If I started going out there bragging about, look at all this I help, and I'm helping these, I'm running this, then to me that would be dishonoring the trust that these people put in me. Because I would be making fame off of them, and I just don't want to do that.
And then doing that, it sounds a lot like ego. Like you're doing it for yourself more so than doing it for those people. And you seem to be very humble in the approach where the work that you're doing, and not making it about yourself. It's like you say, it's for the people, and you want to help the community, right?
And unfortunately, homelessness really humbles an individual, but it also gives you a lot of qualities that I went through my homelessness. I always had in the back of my mind that I would be okay, and that's one of the things that really kept me going there. And that's one thing that people have got to learn, right? Is that whatever you go through in life, that you're going to come out the other side okay.
What do they say? Whatever you go through, you grow through.
That's right. And one of the tenets of sobriety is conflict precedes clarity, right? Meaning that in order for something to grow, it's got to struggle to do so first. So every time we struggle or have problems in life, that is an opportunity to grow if you so take it, right? So that's the way I've been looking at every struggle that I have now. What is it trying to teach me? What can I learn out of that, right? And it really is a helpful view to have in the world now. I don't know about the humility. I guess I am, but I try to be. But like I've said, it's the homelessness and where I've been that truly humbles an individual. That I don't want to hurt anybody, and I don't want to do anything but help people find the right path in life. It's not me that's doing the healing. I'm an information sharer. Give a little bit of guidance. I try to teach what I know, and that's all I need to do.
Yeah,
it's up to people to do that. Right?
For me, that was something as well as I never really shared my story either. That's something that I don't really talk about it too much, I guess, either. It's not something that I'm ashamed of or anything like that. It's just something I just don't really talk about. I don't really, I guess in what I've been doing, I guess maybe it's something that I kind of have in the background. I talk about it once in a while, but I grew up really very cultural. My mom took me to sweats and stuff like that, and we went to powwows and went to fasting camps and stuff like that. But I had friends and whatnot, and I kind of veered off a little bit. My mom grew she was always sober pretty much in my lifetime. And then high school, drank here and there. And then after high school, I was trying to find my way, and I went into welding and whatnot. And then I went into university, and that's where it kind of picked up quite a bit, was every weekend, sometimes like middle of the week and whatnot. And this is my first year university, trying to make a change in my life. And my grades weren't affected too bad, but I can definitely see it. And I was finding that I was embarrassing myself a lot of times. Like you'd go out and drink, and then you would find out the things that you did, sometimes the day after, or you would embarrass yourself that like a night and you would remember it. And that it was becoming very consistent. And I remember I went out with my cousin on Boxing Day, and I think that was one of the last times, like, I don't want to embarrass myself anymore and make shame myself and like kind of shame my family in a way, like make it, I don't know, not necessarily shame my family, but like I didn't want to make them feel ashamed of me, I guess, like my own family feel ashamed of me. So
let them down.
Let them down, yeah. So I decided that I was going to take a break from it. That's what I thought. I was like, oh, I'm still really young. I don't need to quit. I don't need to quit drinking. Like that, I'll live this sober, spiritual life one day, but not today, you know? Exactly. I kept thinking that, and somewhere in the future, I'll get back on track. I'll get back on the red road. And then I decided I was like, I'm going to take off for like a couple of weeks of drinking. So I'm just going to DD for my friends. So I was just DDing for them. And then I was like, do I actually need this? Like, maybe I'll just go a little bit longer. And then I realized I was using alcohol as a crutch to be social and to like be the life of the party and like hang out with people. But then I realized I actually didn't really need it. I was able to do that. And I realized I had a lot of growth that I needed to do, like to be able to grow into that person that's not afraid anymore. You know, I was using it to kind of hide that stuff. I was afraid, so I was using it to cover that up. And then after being sober for like a month or so, I knew there was a lot of change that I needed to make. And then I was only going to be sober for a couple of weeks or something like that. That turned into months, and then now 8.5 years.
Awesome.
Yeah, so I wasn't really planning on it. It was just a different approach, and then I just ended up staying sober because I just didn't want it in my life anymore. I saw the damage that it did in my life and whatnot, and I seen the damage it's done in like my friends' life and like some of my family members, and then I just realized like, you know what, maybe this is something that I don't want in my life. I'm going to university to better myself, and then at that point I kind of realized I wanted to go to university and then come back to my community and try to help as much as I could as well.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
See, and I'd really like to hear that, because it is our youth that are going to lead us out of our traumas. I mean, I'm getting up there. You can see I'm getting gray, and I'm only going to be around for, well, hopefully 20, 30 years. But I mean, that's not a lot of time, but we need our youth, right? It is our youth that are going to lead us out of everything. And that's one of the reasons that I really was glad to see that one of my things that I had to do in my job was develop a youth leadership council. Right? And I jumped on that, right? Because we need our youth. Like, I wanted to see them, we teach them balance. We've given them all kinds of teachings from traditional place names to traditional leadership preparation, to our language, to different thought patterns, the medicine wheel. Because when they get older, if they don't want to maybe be a leader in our community, run for council or whatever they do in their life, I see in our communities nowadays that we're looking for apologies, right? And to me, that's a sign of weakness. What we need is our youth getting up to when they decide to be leaders, and they're going to start facing the world with I don't want apologies. I want recognition or acknowledgement on what happened to me, that our lives matter. We have purpose. We have value, and our lives have meaning. And that's what they're going to bring to the world when they leave this area, right? They need that, and all of our people need that. But like I say, it's our youth, like my children and you, that are going to lead it. I'm so glad to hear that you left the addiction at a young age. And I hear that a lot about some of our young, and I just love that. And it just makes my heart swell to see youth so young deciding they want to go on a different path in life. I mean, mine was a hard path, and I don't ever want anybody to go through that path, but it is something that I would not change about me, because I would have not been able to have the knowledge that I do now, the wisdom, I guess. But it's just something that I find just amazing, and I hope that we can move forward in our community by, you know, developing our youth like that. I mean, we have so much death on our communities right now. And, you know, it's all about our intergenerational traumas. But if you thought about the last 3 years, the world has been going through another historical trauma. And that is the pandemic. That's the historical the whole world is going through, right? All the deaths, all, you know, lockdowns, everything that affects people. And then our own community, not last year, we all were evacuated for a month and a week or so, right? And that is another historical trauma for our community, because that's never happened. Now, what really we need to do is deal with not only the historical traumas we went through back in our past, but the last 2 years we have to help people find that balance again, so we can move forward as a community and become a powerful, strong, you know, vibrant community again, right? Right now, there's just, sometimes we're like crabs in a bucket. Right?
Yeah, the crab bucket syndrome.
One of us gets up and we start climbing out, and then next thing you know, everybody's bring that back down here, right?
Yeah, I saw that on when I became sober. A lot of my friends were kind of like that.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't really want to hang out with me unless I was drinking, or they would talk smack about me when I decided to quit and stuff like that. So I can kind of see that. And like you said, like something that you were talking about was helping youth find their purpose and like their passion and whatnot. And with me, what I found is when I was drinking, that bottle kind of clouded my purpose, you know? It was hard to really see it. It was almost like looking through like a cloudy lens, you know? And then once I became sober, everything started kind of becoming more clear, and it was more like funneled, more streamlined to like what my purpose was, you know? I still don't really know what my purpose is. I'm still young, but I feel like I'm more on the right path than before.
And a lot of times, I think our purpose is just to be balanced, good human beings. Right? Remember that person that we said good words to a couple days ago that we didn't know about, but that made their day. Right? The kind words to somebody else that we don't know that helped them. And I think, to me, our purpose is just to find that balance and be good people, because everything stems from there. To be that healthy, balanced person, everything goes from that into that. And like I say, I know a few other. My son, for instance, he's really never. Well, he's drank, but you know, he's not. He doesn't drink anymore. He's on a better path in life than I would have been at that age. And if I had not stopped when I did and stopped that cycle, my kids would have been going down the same path that I am. But even so, if they should happen to go down that path, well, I am here because I've been there. And if they ever need my help, I'll always be here. I mean, that to me is the whole community too. I mean, I never turn anybody down. Get myself a little busy doing it, but I mean, hey, we need to bring more people with us. That's my.
So, do you want to tell me a little bit about the inner engine exercise?
Yeah, my inner child exercise. And like I said, I lost my dad when I was 13 years old, and I had to deal with the emotions that came of that I never agreed for. But that wasn't the end of my work, right? There was a hurt little kid back there that needed some comforting, right? So I heard about this inner child work at the same treatment center I did this regression therapy, right? So I was really interested, and I said yes. So what they do is they kind of get you in a little bit of a trance and talking to you, and they talk you back to the point where you were 13 years old again. To me, that was one of the most powerful things that I've ever done, because I could actually feel the pain and sadness and fear in my little kid. That was me, right? And it made me cry because, you know, all I wanted to do, this was in my mind, was I wanted to give that little boy a hug. Because I knew what was in store for that 13-year-old boy for the rest of his life. And I just wanted to grab him and hold him and tell him everything's going to be okay, you're going to be fine. And that's actually what I did. And when I came out of there, it was the beginning. I've had other inner child work, but it was the beginning of healing the kid inside of me that was originally hurt. And it's something that I'll never forget, just like the regression therapy, but it just was so profound for me to meet myself. I mean, I actually felt like I met my little boy, that little chubby, little hurt little kid that I knew the rest of his life, and I had to give him a hug and talk to him. But you know what? It was a way to learn how to soothe myself as well, the little hurt kid in me. And there's still other things that hurt the little boy in me, but I mean, every once in a while I'll meditate and I'll go back, and it's just one of the most powerful things that I've ever done. Seeing yourself as a little kid. Mm-hmm. And I felt that pain. I felt that not only fear and anger, but the loss. Like how lost I was as a little young man. Mm-hmm. And I'm glad I got to do it. You know, right now it even makes me want to tear up because I still remember that little guy. Mm-hmm. And I'll never forget him because I've got to continuously heal. Some of the stuff that I talked about when we need an eagle's point of view to look at not only our addiction but our whole lives to help us with that addiction. Right? Mm-hmm. A lot of times, like I said before, is that we look in front of us to see what maybe is making us go into that addiction or that and that. Well, that's not our way. That's the non-native way to find here what's in front of us. What we have to do is look backwards, the eagle's point of view, back to our lives, back to where we were, back to starting with our historical traumas back in residential school. Because all of that anger, all of that sadness, everything that happened to our ancestors is here with us today in our communities, in our people, in our young. Mm-hmm. And that's what I'm mostly trained on is the ability to overcome that intergenerational traumas that would help us. Mm-hmm. Heal.
And the thing with that sometimes is it can take generations too. So like each generation might add to it. And then I see in just not too long into the future, I see a lot of good change going to be happening within our communities. Like I've never seen my grandma Rose drink. Like she didn't drink in my lifetime. And then my mom quit when I was very young, and then now I'm going to pass that on to like my future children as well. So it's gonna. I see it it's just gonna keep getting better and better. But with change takes time as well.
Yeah, well, and living proof was sitting right here in front of me. You're not even half my age, but you're starting on a path. So it is working, right? And we need to continue that and keep healing a lot of it. I mean, not only our young, but even our elders, we need to get them out of their pain of their past. Mm-hmm. Too long they've lived in their minds in the brutality of what happened to them. Right? Mm-hmm. So, and it's passed down to us. I mean, we have a lot of anger on our reserve, as you've noticed. Mm-hmm. And that stems from people don't even know why they're angry. And the reason being that it started way back then. And to me, the Indian Act was just a culmination of a lot of things that happened back starting around the 14th century, when the popes started issuing these papal bulls, which developed into manifest destiny, the doctrine of discovery, terra nullius, and it's something that we really have to overcome. Not only that, but our stereotypes too. We're still stereotyped a lot and unfortunately, a lot of the people that we hire regardless of their good intentions, their good nature, still have that attitude about us back in their subconscious, right? So is that going to affect the way we heal? Or is that going to affect, like, the belief in what is going to heal us? Is our culture, our ceremony, and who we are, and feel that identity. And I think we have to be very careful because, like I say, a lot of the people that come out here truly believe and truly want to help us. But it's up to us as a community and myself as a worker to help decolonize their thought systems about us. And my own decolonization too. I have colonized thoughts that I still have to get rid of. A lot of them stem from my addictions, right? That way we think sometimes about our people. Unfortunately, sometimes it does creep up at it, if you keep that balance. And by decolonize, I mean, everybody really runs from that word, but, a decolonized thought process to me is we can't do it. They're not worthy. They can't heal on their ceremony, right? That's all it is. It's not hatred against us. It's just a lack of trust and understanding in our histories and our culture and how that is part of our identity and who we are. And we need to fill that gap of our medicine wheel. That's all. And I don't really like the word, but what do I want to call it? Racist thoughts? Because it's not really racist thoughts. It's a pattern that they've developed on the way they see us, right? And that's hard to get out. And a lot of our own people have developed that against our own people as well. So we have to, get back to that community as a whole, right? And we were all about family. We were all about gathering. We were all about big family gatherings. That's what kept us healthy, I think. And, and if you really thought about it, we used to have ceremony for pretty much every stage of our lives up to death. That showed us who we are, where we're going, right? That gave us that sense of accomplishment too. What do the kids have to look forward to nowadays? Maybe driver's license, get to drink at 19. Whereas we had ceremony. I mean, look at the boys. The puberty ceremony takes 3 years. 3 years out of their lives, right? Of training, of culture, of everything.
And that discipline too.
Exactly. And that helped them develop who we are. And gave them that sense of pride and accomplishment. Look, 3 years of this hardness. This is who I am, right? And we need to get back to a little more of that. I don't know if we need to, but we should. And, that's what we try to help develop, is these little accomplishments, this identity pieces, right? Because it's all about those missing pieces of our own people, right? And that's what I had to find in myself, was my identity, who I was as an individual, right? I knew I was Indian, right? But that's about it. So when I started embracing that side of of me to fill that identity and that emotional and mental part, right? I started to heal in a better way.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on when you drink or do drugs and whatnot, that your spirit will leave you for a couple days, and they say like that feeling of like almost emptiness sometimes is because your spirit's going to a safe place, and then it's going to come back after a couple days.
I believe in stuff like that for sure, because I was told by one of our elders, why do you think they call it spirits? Because there's something missing in your spirit, right? And if you really look at all the opioids, the alcohol, the marijuana, everything is derived from a plant, our sacred plants. Right? So when we dishonor the spirit of that plant, because all our plants have spirits, by using that and abusing that in a way that it's not supposed to be used, because originally they were all drugs and they helped us get healthy. But once we start abusing that spirit of that plant, to me, knows that, and it takes revenge. And we become addicted. So what I had to do was actually go back to the spirit of the hops, go back to the spirit of whatever made the alcohol that I like to drink. And leave an offering and ask for forgiveness to the hops, to the coca plant, right, or the poppy, so that I would get their blessing, I guess, to make them understand that, okay, I know that I abused you, and I apologize, right? And my dreams stopped after that. I used to have like using dreams, and once I asked for forgiveness from those spirits of those plants, those dreams stopped. And I haven't had a dream since.
I've never heard that version before. Like I've heard people just talk about like your spirit leaving and stuff like that. I've never heard of, that makes a lot of sense, like the spirit of those plants and abusing them. Like everything has spirit in our way. And to go back and like put tobacco down and like honor those plants, so then you stopped having those dreams and whatnot.
It was one of the most amazing things that I've ever, because my dreams were realistic, right? I was a heavy crack user, and this one night I had a dream, and I woke up, I was using crack, and I woke up and I was holding my breath. I was like, oh my God, this is too real. So I consulted with one of I have a couple of mentors that I use, some elders, and I started talking to him that, and then he explained about the plants, right? Maybe you should go out and leave a food offering. Maybe you should go out and leave some tobacco offering, say a prayer, and ask for forgiveness from these plants. So I did, and I've never had a dream since. And I still do it every once in a while. It's like I need to go out and say apologize to these plants, because if I would have used them in a correct way, they might have helped me, right? Or when I needed to use them, when I was that sick, when I used them in a healthy way. But it's something that I really never thought of, and I just found that amazing, because that's who we are. That helped me understand, and I'd forgotten that each plant has a spirit, right? And it was one of the most amazing things that I had ever happened to me. It was cool. My dreams stopped.
That's the first time I've heard of that concept of maybe it has something to do with the plants having a spirit and whatnot. I think it's also like kind of symbolic as well, and kind of helps people maybe understand that part of it. Yeah.
And I really liked that. That was cool. But our culture has a lot of amazing things that we just don't know about right yet. So, and I'm finding out as getting closer to being an elder, I guess. But I found out a lot of things, and I use them too.
What are your thoughts on, like you mentioned mentors and whatnot? What are your thoughts on having mentors on your healing journey?
I think they're highly important, because a lot of time our own decision-making process has been skewed from our addictions, right? And if we have healthy elders leading our way, then I think we have a way higher chance of healing. If I wouldn't have had a mentor, I would have never known anything about, or I would have forgotten, let's say, about the plants being spirits. And I probably would have still been dreaming. Who knows, those dreams might have got so vivid that I might have started using again. That sinister way that they sneak in there. But I have a pretty strong and powerful program right now that I'm really proud of. And I would not have traversed this without a mentor. I think one of the first things I did, the first time before I slipped, I didn't slip, I relapsed, was I did not add our culture. I did not add a mentor. I did not add a lot of stuff. I went to AA, and that's it. I didn't seek counseling. I thought, oh yeah, I'm on the path. And it wasn't too long that I hit a wall that took me, because I didn't have my culture to fall back on. I didn't have anything like the Smudge, or Sweat Lodge, or a mentor to fall back on. I hit that wall, and I just said, hell with it, right? And started again. But this time I decided I'm going to have a stronger program, and added my mentors and a lot of learning. And it's the learning and the mentors that really help, because the mentors are part of that learning to keep us healthy. They know stuff that we don't.
Yeah, one of the things for me wasn't, I guess I had like good mentors within my life that I'd be able to connect to from time to time, but one of the biggest things for me was having my cousin decided to become sober as well at the same time. So we were like like best bros, kind of like going through it together, and then he really went on like a very like spiritual path, and he's doing a lot of like good things like that. So having someone to do it with you and kind of like go down that spiritual path with you really helps as well.
Exactly. Because we all traverse our healing in a different way. So the more points of view that we have, the better off we're going to be, right? Because it gives us those better mental pictures, and our thought systems are a little bit more better, right? And it's a path that I wish everybody was on. Because even if you don't drink in our communities, you're still affected by our intergenerational traumas, because it affects our thought patterns, right? It affects how we heal. It affects how we feel emotions even, right? And a lot of us still feel a lot of anger.
Yeah, for sure. Would you have any advice for, like, it's a lonely path sometimes too, when your whole life and all your friends are around that one thing, do you have any advice for someone that may be interested in learning about that path, or maybe embracing that path of sobriety?
The best thing, the one thing that I got grounded into me was I had to trust the process of healing. Trust that I have the courage to do it. Trust that I have the mental capacity to do it. Trust that my emotions are going to heal me. Right? So the biggest thing that I would ever have to say to anybody is trust the process. That your mentors or whoever you decide to do it, trust the process of healing, because that will help you out. Because if we go in there suspicious, this ain't going to work, didn't work for him, didn't work for them, but maybe it'll work for me, that kind of attitude isn't going to help. It's just that I got to trust whoever is helping me. I got to trust the healing process, because right now my thinking and trusting myself hasn't got me anywhere. So we just have to trust our process of healing.
What about that component? I've come across people who maybe don't want to go down that path because they think it'll be a lonely path, and like they're going to lose all their friends that go out and do all those things. Like they're worried about being lonely on that path. What is your advice for someone like that?
But stay on your path, because you know what? I found out that I had a lot of drinking buddies. I had a lot of using buddies, but I had very few friends. The friends that I found out were true friends and not drinking buddies or using buddies were the ones that stuck with me. They agreed with my path, even though they were in their own path. They were just, cheering me on, right? And when, like, for instance, I was sitting with, I go back to the park every once in a while. Not the last couple of years, but when I first started my path, I'd go sit and talk to a few people. You were sitting in a circle, and one of the homeless guys that I knew wanted me to drink, have a beer, but the way those guys would not let him. Get out of here. He's on a really great path in his life, and he's going to be great. And it's that time that I realized that, this guy is a true friend.
Yeah, you can really weed out the ones. I had the same experience. Like there was certain people like, come on, just have a drink. That's so lame. It's so lame. Come on. And then there's people like that would say, no, like, leave him alone. He's trying to be sober here. There'd be people that would stick up for you, and you kind of see like, oh, those people are more friends than the ones that are trying to guilt you into start drinking and saying that you're being lame, and that's dumb.
And what I found out was I was taken away from their comfort level, because they felt more comfortable having more people, and that's what I did too. I felt the more people I was comfortable with drinking at and did as much drinking as I didn't make me feel so bad. It didn't make me feel like, as an addict, or I'm not the only one. These buddies are here. They're worse than me, right? So I had to really get out of that attitude. And so did a lot of my friends. Right now, I have very few friends. It's not really a lonely life, because when we're in our sickness, we need people around us. Like, I'd always be in a big group, because we don't know what's going on inside of us. So we always in parties and whatnot like that, because I really found out that I did not like myself. I didn't trust myself being alone, but the more I healed, the more I don't mind being alone. And the further along my path, it's not like I hate people, but it's the way I recharge now. And in reality, I'm an introvert. But I'm just around people all the time, and I can talk and all that. But the way I recharge is I have to be by myself.
I'm the same way.
Yeah, we're down at the water, smudge, and doing something, right? But one of my mentors told me that is because you're starting to love yourself again. The more we love ourselves, the more time we're able to spend alone. And that means the more time we're able to spend alone, the more time that we are healing. I'm not going to say that we don't like having our friends around. We do. And if we lose all of them, well, then, that is kind of lonely. But if you're healing, that loneliness will go away, because that loneliness is only filling a gap. And when you start filling your gap with yourself and your culture and the healing, then that loneliness doesn't even matter. And I don't feel it anymore, really.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I felt like I don't have like this huge group of friends anymore. It's just like a smaller group of friends, family and whatnot. And I feel fine with just that, Like, I don't feel like I'm missing anything. I feel pretty full.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm content to stay my days with my grandkids, go visit my son or my mom. Those are the days that I can really tell that my thought process has healed and shifted. And that's what makes me happy now, is helping people and being around my community and just being with my family. That's what drives me now.
Another thing with this project that we're doing, we're trying to look at these different things that can help you maybe live a better life, or maybe it's experimental. And trying different things on how you can live a better life or live a more holistic life. And then there was also taking inhibitors out of our lives. Like, during this process, we did a thing where we took technology, like our cell phones and all those things, TV, out of our life for a little bit. And it was kind of strange, because at first it was actually really hard. Like, I was almost reaching for my phone and realized, like, okay, I can't go on my phone. And I'd put it away for like a couple of days and no TV for a week. And then I was sitting there really bored and whatnot. And so there was that component of taking these inhibitors, like even trying to limit sugars and bad foods and stuff like that. But maybe someone's not going to necessarily become like cold turkey, like sober, but taking alcohol out, like limiting it as like an inhibitor to live a better life, and limit it for self-development and becoming the best version of yourself. Do you think that could be a step as well as limiting it in your life?
What you're talking about is mind changers.
Yeah.
Right? It was in the sobriety program. It was prophesized that the mind changers would be coming over, and the mind changers are a book, a song, a liquid, and a card. The book, of course, is the Bible. The liquid is, our alcohol. The card, of course, we all carry those Philly status cards, and everybody really had problems with the song. Now, the song, if you remember back in the boarding school days in the U.S., they'd always teach them this one little song, right? And that was 1 little, 2 little, 3 little Indians. And then you'd count all the way up to 10. And then what would you do? You'd count back 10 little, 9 little, 8 little Indians, all the way to 0, till there was no Indians left. So that was kind of insidious. So the mind changers of today would be our phone, our internet, and different things like that. The mind changers change that take us from our healing path or make it more difficult, right? So there's a lot of mind changes around in this world that will inhibit us from our path and to sobriety and to healing, right? So that's something that we really have to be careful for. And like I said, the phone, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, they are all considered mind changers because they change our minds a lot. And they change our direction, and they only lead us into unhealthiness. So like we have to be careful with that. It's like, oh my God, all these rules. But they come naturally.
I noticed some of those, like the mind changers, they kind of take you away from what's really important. And after doing that experiment where we didn't have any technology or anything like that for like a week or so, I kind of like did it almost for another 2 weeks, but gradually go to my phone because I still need it and whatnot. But we ended up going on vacation to Hawaii for a week, and it was so weird because we just finished that experiment and we're there and everyone's just on their phones, filming themselves on the beach. And then there's people with like towels over their head, just like filming themselves, or just like on their phone, not even looking at this ocean in front of them. And then we went on this hike. That was like a beautiful hike, and everyone's on their phone, like selfieing, like, look, I'm on this hike, and like going on things, and they're not looking up at like what's in front of them, the beauty of what's in front
They're
of them.
amongst beauty, but they're not seeing it.
Yeah, it was crazy to see, like what you said, like the mind changers, where like this is more important than what's out there, you know? That's so weird.
Distraction. Everybody goes through that.
All right, so that pretty much wraps us up here on one of our episodes where we talked about sobriety. I'd like to thank you, Michael, for sharing your insight, your journey, and yeah, it's been really mind-opening. I learned a lot of things just listening to you in this episode.
Thank you. I just find it an honor that a person like me can find a place to, speak his mind and share his voice with maybe people might watch us and learn a little bit. But you guys just honor me to even think that I might have something to add, and it's just something that I'm really grateful for. And there were times in my life that I didn't think that I had a voice, and I want to thank you guys for giving me a bigger voice. People say I'm loud mouth already, but hey, and I'm just honored.
Yeah, you're doing a lot of good work in our community, and there's a lot of things that I didn't know exactly like what you were doing, and it was really insightful to hear the good work that you're doing within our community. And I'm excited to share this video, and hopefully a lot of members in our community can see the good work that you're doing, and maybe this might be a little spark in some people's minds, like throughout Indian country and throughout Canada, because this is going to be shared on that platform, and maybe it'll just be a little spark that someone might want to make that change in their life. And I think if you can help just one or two people, that's good enough for me.
Good enough for me as well.
All right.